I saw this. I know it's just a Minnesota Vikings fan page. I understand. I'm not going crazy here, but JJ McCarthy threw a pick for a third straight day.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't, my two questions are, I've seen one preseason game. He was good in it, by the way. 11 of 17, 190 yards, couple of touchdowns, passer rating like one. He was very good. I saw the highlights, didn't watch the game live, saw the highlights. It was very good. Then you get the two surgeries, so we don't know what he is. But there's so much mystery here. Why does Minnesota keep flirting with other quarterbacks? And there's too many conflicting reports on JJ McCarthy. So I just find the whole thing, there's a lot of stuff I just don't know. I feel sometimes I'm there's a little bit of a spin job here. I will say this is, and I think, J-Mac, you and I have had this discussion, to be a great franchise quarterback. And I think Jalen Hurts is probably 10th best in the league, but I do think he's a top 10 franchise quarterback. If you're top 10 in a league of 32 teams, you're good. There's got to be a trait. There has to be a wow trait. So let's just go through them. Mahomes, arm talent. Allen, sheer force of size. Lamar, athletic ability. Yeah. Stafford has one of the great arms in the last 30 years in the league. He's got a magical arm. Burrow, composure and accuracy, like as good as Brady in his prime if you look at the numbers and analytics. Herbert, big, strong, power arm. C.J. Stroud, accuracy, like just, moving left, moving right, moving forward. C.J. Stroud's accuracy since high school is insane. Hurts, strength, pound for pound, 600-pound squats. Kyler Murray, elusiveness. You start stacking up these quarterbacks, there's a trait. Like Elway, arm. Marino, arm. Aaron Rodgers, arm. Release. Go back and look at the people I trust. There's one or two things I never buy. I never buy this when you say this about a quarterback. That guy is a winner. Everybody under Jim Harbaugh and Steve Spurrier and Nick Saban's a winner. I don't want to hear that. If you go back and look, his arm is modest. His escapability is modest. His release wasn't super quick. There is no great trait. That's why I was always a Darnold fan. Darnold is tough with a big arm. He can be reckless, but there are times you watch Darnold, his ability to make big throws while moving is special. I don't get McCarthy's wow trait. Now, I like Jordan Love, but I think Jordan Love has an incredible arm. He's got a whip, and he's also super athletic. I don't see the wow. There's got to be one thing where I'm like, oh, that's always been my knock on Purdy. Now, Purdy, they say cognitively, he's like Superman above the shoulders. Maybe that's it. But where's the wow with this guy?
I was going to ask you, like Purdy coming out of Iowa State, there was no wow. He gets to the NFL, and his processing is wow. So can we see McCarthy play a real game? Not just preseason, not OTAs. Can we see him like play a real game? Maybe a trait will emerge. And he was a pretty mobile quarterback. Obviously not Josh Allen.
He's okay.
But how about this? There isn't anything he doesn't do well. He has a big arm. He's mobile. He can process. He showed everything in Michigan.
Go read the scout. He doesn't have a big arm. He does not have a big arm.
A good enough arm. A good enough NFL arm.
His arm is considered modest. It is a middle of the pack arm, middle of the pack escapability. In fact, they question his release. His release at times could be a little plodding, which was always a Darnold knock, and you have to work on that. You could get better at that. There is no go look at all the guys, the Lance Zierleins, and these are guys that are fans. It's a lot of, that guy is a winner. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. I could say that about Johnny Manziel and Tim Tebow.
Okay. Guys, first off, I got to say that I'm devastated that he's thrown an interception for the third straight practice. I mean, just throw him in the trash. Listen, there might be a little bit too much to unpack here. We're going to try our best here. First off, it's actually funny because I remember everyone kept saying how average or weak of an arm Bo Nix has. And then he enters the NFL, and now people are like, whoa, he's got such a bigger arm than anyone knew. And it was like, whoa, he's got a real big arm. And it's just like all them people talking about him having like a weak arm or a bad arm have just kind of like vanished. And we're trying to figure out what JJ McCarthy's wow is, and it's like we're naming quarterbacks who have been able to be in the NFL and demonstrate their wow. And to a degree, I understand what Colin is saying in terms of like what makes you special, and it's an important conversation to have in many aspects of your life, just in your own individual life, like figuring out like what do you do great, what makes you special, what makes you interesting, what do you have to offer to other people, and is there a way for you to build your life around that? That's actually one of the philosophies in terms of like how to have a happy life, how to have a healthy financial life, is like figure out what you do great, what you can offer to other people, and then figure out a way how to monetize it. Whatever it may be, whether it's something a little bit more traditional, like you're really great at math and so you become an engineer, or whatever it is, you figure it out. And it's going to be like that in football and in sports as well, right? If you're a great shooter, well, then you're going to shoot. If you have a big arm, you're going to throw the ball down the field, whatever it may be. And it's just this idea that we're just like, well, what's his wow? It's like, can we give him a second, right? Can we give him a second? And this idea that we look at all these other quarterbacks like Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, like we are living in a world right now, in a football world, where a lot of these quarterbacks are actually legitimately like special all-time talents. They really are. Josh Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, even Stafford. Like, ask real, true football fans. And I know I'm talking to Minnesota Vikings fans, so they might not want to hear it, but like, you'll get a lot of people that say that Stafford has one of the greatest arms in NFL history. Like that is like an actual common belief. And again, Joe Burrow, out of his mind. Lamar Jackson, out of his mind. Josh Allen, out of his mind. Patrick Mahomes, out of his mind. I mean, like, these guys are historically great. And if you want to reach the conclusion already, which is fine, that JJ McCarthy is not an all-time great, it's like, so what are we saying? That you can only draft a future all-time great quarterback, otherwise you can't win or you can't do anything? Like, that kind of sounds insane to me, because think about how high someone like Colin was on, pre-injury, like a Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is a perfect example of this, of like, you can win a lot of games with a Kirk Cousins, especially I walked right into it. He was a quarterback with the Minnesota Vikings, and, had his problems or whatnot, but, Colin believes that a Kirk Cousins can win the Super Bowl if he was in a great situation, if Shanahan was his coach and he was with the 49ers and like all this type of situations. And it's just like, are we saying that, let's say JJ McCarthy isn't a top 10 quarterback when it's all said and done, but let's say he's like top 12. Are we saying then that that's not good enough to win games, to win playoff games, to win Super Bowls? Because if that's the case, then every time you don't have a top 10 quarterback, you move on from him. You just never pay him. You just I mean, like, it would just be like, just keep drafting quarterbacks no matter what. Just keep I mean, like, it would just be like, as soon as you have a quarterback that's not technically top 10, you just move on from him. You're just like, why are we wasting our time? I mean, I don't got time for this. You're better off playing any other quarterback, any backup quarterback, any quarterback, just giving him a chance, because you never know. Maybe he's a Tom Brady. Maybe he's even a Dak Prescott. But hey, I don't know. Is Dak Prescott actually top 10? Well, he was for a couple years. Okay, now that he's not, move on. I'm not paying him this money. Like, it becomes like a weird, difficult conversation, honestly. And that's just the more extreme way, if you're reaching the conclusion that JJ McCarthy can't be that. Because for all we know, one of JJ McCarthy's superpowers is that he's an elite game manager, which again is not a bad thing. You will legitimately win Super Bowls if your wow is like, you take care of the ball, you're a highly intelligent decision maker. You make smart passes at the right time. You know how to execute the offense. Like, that's what I kind of even said about Brock Purdy before, is that he, has shown that when he has a great team around him, he is elite at executing the offense. He is elite at running the offense exactly how Shanahan wants it. That is so insanely valuable, as proven as Purdy has shown by literally getting to back-to-back NFC Championship games and getting to a Super Bowl and leaving the field with the lead against the Kansas City Chiefs, losing in overtime. Like that is a real thing. And you're right. I am not taking Brock Purdy over Josh Allen. I agree with that. But this idea that it's just like, that means McCarthy's not good. It's just like I don't know where we're getting to that. And if he was good enough for Harbaugh, and if he's good enough for Kevin O'Connell, well then I want to see what's up. Like someone like Colin trusts Kevin O'Connell and trusts Harbaugh immensely. Thinks they're special coaches, and I agree. Don't you just want to wait and see then how their quarterback pans out? Like, shouldn't that give you information? Like, this is the way how I operate. I've said this in a previous video where it's just like, if I had strong feelings that JJ McCarthy wasn't going to be good, like that was what my prediction was. But then I find that Kevin O'Connell really wanted him. It was, it's a rumor that Kevin O'Connell was really excited and really wanted to draft JJ McCarthy. I'm like, all right, well, Kevin O'Connell knows just a little bit more than me, so I'm going to wait and see a little bit. I'm going to maybe like soften up on my stance of him not being a good quarterback. Like I felt pretty good that Bo Nix was going to be a pretty good quarterback. I had strong feelings for whatever reason. And then I find out that Sean Payton really wants him and drafts him and is excited to have him. And I'm like, oh, well, now I'm double downing on. I mean, Sean Payton knows way more than I do. He knows way more than I do. So it's like, okay, there you go. Like that's kind of my answer right there. And until I'm proven otherwise, then I'll change my view. And I get it because on one side, if you don't hold some of the opinions like that Colin or other people in the media have, then I feel as though they feel like they're kind of trapped. Because it's like Colin has a real show. It's like 3 hours. It's on TV. It's on radio. All this type of stuff. And he can't have a show where he's just like, yeah, I don't know if McCarthy will be good or not. We just kind of have to wait and see. And people are going to be like, well, what are you talking about? Like they feel as though that they need these like concrete opinions. And that's what happens, especially when you run a show that is dictated by kind of commercial breaks and you have a specific thing. Like we're going to talk about this sport for a little bit. We're going to talk about that sport. We're going to talk about this team, that team. Like I have the freedom making videos where I can make a video once a week, every single day, just being like, yeah, I'm not sure about JJ McCarthy. And that's why I love the collaboration with the comments, because I'm like, how do you guys all feel? Like, I'm not sure. And part of the engagement, part of the content, part of, the purpose of why am I posting anything is to like, let's have a conversation about it. How are you guys all feeling? How are you feeling in Minnesota? How are you feeling from fans from Michigan following, tell me something about JJ that I don't know. Change my mind or help educate me. Like, and it's like, I have the freedom to kind of do that. I don't make videos coming from a place where I'm just like, I am the person who has all the information. I know everything. Sometimes I can maybe come off like that. Sometimes if I'm really confident in a take, I'm like, guys, this is the reality of the situation. You're all are confused, but it's not always like that. I see it as I talk with people rather than at people. The people who are watching my video, I talk with you, not at you, unless you're disrespectful. And, it becomes a tricky situation where you're just kind of like JJ McCarthy through some interceptions. And it's like, just like I said about on the opposite end of the spectrum with Shedeur Sanders, it's like, we're talking about practice now. And I have no idea what JJ is working on. I have no idea. And JJ is coming off a year of just not playing football. That is a real thing. As someone who's been injured so many different times, it takes a minute or two. And now these are definitely going to be the more intense practice that he's ever had. Because I know obviously he's been healthy now for a handful of months, but it's just different. It definitely is different. He's still in the process, quite frankly, of still trusting his body. And knowing, it's kind of sore, but it's like, yeah, that's just kind of normal soreness. You're going to have that either potentially forever or just for a little bit longer. Until you get stronger and stronger and stronger. And again, like I'm on the record saying, like, I don't think JJ McCarthy is going to necessarily like hit the ground running. I don't think he's just going to, from the jump, just absolutely ball out and lead this Minnesota Vikings team to a 15-win, season here. Like that is not my opinion at all. And I do think that there was truth in the Minnesota Vikings being interested in and exploring other quarterback options because they know how great their team is. And someone as smart as Kevin O'Connell understands, yeah, we're gonna go through some growing pains with JJ McCarthy. He's young. It's gonna be a first year starter. We lost our whole year because of injury. And I got a great team. I have a real chance to win. I have to weigh this. I also have to figure out, how do I put the best possible quarterback in it to, out there for my team to win. I don't owe anything to anyone. I only owe it to the team as a whole, collectively. So yeah, you are going to be like, well, how much can we get Sam Darnold for? Well, does Aaron Rodgers still have some juice left in him? Like, what, do we want to mess around with that? Like, it makes sense. And I think if they would have been able to get Sam Darnold for a cheap price, they would have kept him. If they could have gotten him for another like 15 million or something, they probably would have kept him, because you get tremendous continuity there. You get to build off of the success that you had the year before, and it's not like you're losing JJ McCarthy. It's not like it's like an either or type situation where now you got to put JJ McCarthy on the trade block or something. And so it makes sense because you've seen the levels of success that you could have with with Sam Darnold. So it would be irresponsible for you not to flirt with that. It would be irresponsible for you not to strongly consider that and weigh that, because Sam Darnold did play great. And no, Sam Darnold was not the reasons why they came up short. They had legitimate issues on this roster that they then went and attempted to fix. So, it's not like they just ran it back 100% and didn't make any changes. We know that's not the case. So, I think the good news is about all of these takes is that the Minnesota Vikings are being discussed because they're actually relevant, because they actually matter in the grand scheme of the NFL. There's actually legitimate winning potential there. You have an awesome roster with an awesome coaching staff. And now there is a legitimate question mark at quarterback, which makes sense because he's a first-year starter. He really is essentially a rookie. It's frustrating that we just can't call him a rookie because he is a rookie. Like, he is a rookie. I don't care that he was in some meetings when his leg was in a brace and he was in pain and swelling. Like, it's just, I've had his surgery 3 times. I know it very, 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 very well. And again, Kevin O'Connell even admitted, like, this summer, this spring is like, I got to figure out what this guy knows and what he doesn't know. If he was able to, if JJ McCarthy was healthy last season, but just was sitting, Kevin O'Connell wouldn't have said that. He would have already known that. He would have already had a lot more information. So this is an exploring process right now. This is exactly when you're supposed to do this. And it's so funny because we talk about interceptions, and it's like, and I showed this video before, but it's less relevant here because it was with Nick Wright, where Nick Wright was praising Shedeur Sanders for throwing no interceptions in practice and OTAs, but then like bashed Jalen Hurts for not throwing any interceptions in practice. It was like, he's being too conservative with the ball. Too conservative. And it was just like this kind of whiplash. And it's just like, it's okay. Like we just have no idea what they're working on, what this is looking for, what Kevin O'Connell is doing with him. Like you just have no idea. So I'm just not even remotely concerned. And quite frankly, I don't remember how many interceptions Bo Nix threw in practice, or Jaden Daniels, like, because it was never really reported. I mean, and if it was, like, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. And this does highlight the problem when you had a team that had so much success the year before, because there are major expectations. Because if you change the quarterback and then this team is not winning the division or is not right there in the playoffs ready to pop, people are going to be like, well, what's the difference? The quarterback. Did they make a mistake with Sam Darnold? Like the moment JJ McCarthy has even remotely a couple games in a row where he's struggling, or it's imperfect, or things just aren't flowing, Justin Jefferson's a little angry on the sideline. Like the moment that happens, did the Minnesota Vikings make a mistake? That's just guaranteed to happen. If that happens with JJ. Like that'll be the conversation. And in the context of sports media, like it makes sense to kind of have that conversation. It makes sense to kind of contemplate that and discuss it. We'll have to see actually how it unfolds to know like what would need to be said in that moment, because it could be like a made up, exaggerated story where it's just like, all right, let's relax here. He had a great game. Did he have a bad interception in the fourth quarter? Yes, but he's been playing great. He had 74% completion percentage. He threw for 289 yards. He made a bad decision, like, so that's the problem of trying to predict all this stuff so far out in advance. But like, believe JJ is an NFL ready starter. I don't know if any quarterback is already an NFL ready starter until they start playing. I mean, technically, Jaden Daniels wasn't. Not game one. Was he competent? Sure. Was Bo Nix ready game one? No. Caleb? No. Jalen Hurts? No. I mean, like, it takes a second. It takes a second. So, yeah. But I think the fact that there's that pressure and that momentum, again, I think it's actually more of a positive sign, honestly. Because is anyone having these conversations about Cam Ward? I haven't heard like anything from Cam Ward. Like literally nothing. I mean, have we heard anything from seriously, just like name any of these other quarterbacks that have been drafted over the years. Like you just don't really hear all that much unless you are like wildly popular. And I don't think JJ McCarthy individually is actually that popular relative to what we've saw, like the popularity of like Caleb Williams and whatnot. So this is more about the relevancy of the Minnesota Vikings, which shows you the belief in this team actually more than anything. So it's a good thing. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about JJ McCarthy? Do you think he's an NFL ready starter? How concerned are you about his interceptions in his third straight practice? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.